Hello, everyone, and welcome back to BVI Pilots. Glad to be here with you guys. Hope everybody's doing all right today or tonight, depending on where you're at. This video is not going to be about specifically flying. I'm actually going to go over just some of the basics on vatsim, some of the basic rules. And I've actually pulled up the rules here as well. That way, those that might be sighted, you can see it on your screen as well. Some of this stuff is a little bit, it depends. If you're visually impaired, if you're a BVI pilot, and you use a screen reader or something, there's a couple things that I'm going to discuss here in a minute. But I thought I'd share it. For one, we've got the event coming up, and that's there might be some of you that want to practice on vatsim before that event takes place. I highly recommend it. But if not, that's up to you. So, if you got questions, you can always come back to this website. You'll find the link down below in the description. I've left a link to this page as well. And you can also go to the vatsim page, and go through a bunch of tutorials and stuff there as well. Okay, so the number one rule, the very first one that it talks about, is when you first connect to vatsim, you must make sure that you're not on the runway or taxi. So just make sure that you're, not going to be on a runway or a taxiway. If you want to double check, what you could do is check mark the box to connect as an observer. That way you can just connect and kind of get a hang of things. Because if you don't connect as an observer, if you connect and take off without, requesting IFR clearance or whatever, depending on what you're flying, you could get banned off of vatsim, and nobody wants that. I do want to thank, all the management of vatsim for working with the BVI pilot community. I really appreciate that. All of us do. We really do. And, they've been working with us a lot here, and we're just really thankful for that. So make sure where you're going to, make sure you're not on a runway or a taxiway when you connect. All right. Number 2 says, before logging on to the vatsim, pilots who are in the air need to make sure their flight simulator program is not paused except with permission to do so by a relevant controller. So basically, don't be pausing your sim or anything unless a controller is giving you permission to do so, because they will hold that against you if you're sitting there pausing and doing all this other stuff. And that goes along with, anytime you step away from your keyboard or your yoke or whatever, you need to let them know that you're going to be doing it. And it's only supposed to be for just a couple minutes, not for 30 or 40 minutes, because that's not, realistic. And they want to keep this realistic, So would you honestly do that if you're in the sky and you're flying? Are you going to step away from your controls for 45 minutes? Probably not. Not going to happen. So keep that in mind, to try to keep things as real as possible. All right. 3, pilots need to check regularly whether they are flying through controlled, left parentheses, live staffed, I guess it says, live staffed airspace, which means, check. It says pilots shall ideally make contact with ATC before entering controlled airspace. So if you're entering controlled airspace, let them know that you're at least there. Even if they don't say anything to you, let them know that you're there. I mean, anytime that I'm flying on vatsim, when I go through certain areas and I see that they're on, I'll let them know. I'll key up and say, American 009, entering into your airspace at 32,000 or whatever. Just let them know. Okay, that's the main thing. Okay, this is what I wanted to talk about. Generally, there's no obligation to where you got to use voice on vatsim. So basically, you can use text. Now, if you're able to do that with using a screen reader and you're able to manage that okay, I don't think there's anything against it. But most generally, we can't really do that very well because we're needing to pay attention to our aircraft and, having to, tab back and forth. It could be, dangerous for the flight and, you might miss something. So try to keep it voice if you can, if you're a part of the BVI pilot community. If you want to use text, that's up to you. I'm not telling you that you can't, but if you do, just know that there is a risk involved. So keep that in mind. Okay, the next thing, if you're flying and you're not in contact with an air traffic controller, pilots must monitor it says, here we go. Yeah, pilots must monitor the Unicom frequency, which is 122.800. You can actually just put in 122.8 and it's going to put in, it's still the same thing. Okay. And that's, like I said, that is going to, obviously, if you're flying, you got to you got to be on Unicom. If no one's on center, you've got to be on Unicom. Okay. All right. All right. Number 6. Pilots shall not use an active ATC frequency for private conversations. This avoids disturbance for other traffic. It says, please use private messages for personal communications. So basically, if you're going to talk to somebody else, you can do so, but you need to do it privately. Don't be using the frequencies to talk to someone. Okay. Number 7, another important one. Simulations of emergencies are not forbidden. However, air traffic controllers have the right to deny the simulation of an emergency, and pilots must stop the emergency if requested to do so. If the pilot is unable to stop the emergency, the pilot must log off of the network. It is strictly forbidden to simulate real-world aviation accidents and tragedies, hijackings, and other situations, and or other illegal criminal operations under any circumstances. Okay? So you're not to simulate hijackings or criminal type of activities. Basically, don't be training to hijack a plane or something stupid like that, because you're going to get, well, for one, you shouldn't be doing that anyway, because, I mean, that's just not the place to do it. But don't be doing that. Now, you can do like a, emergency where maybe you've lost an engine, and if that controller wants to simulate that emergency with you, they can. They don't have to. They can tell you no, and you just either have to get off the network or continue doing, you'd have to do it on your own, basically. They're not going to do it, so you technically need to just get off the network if you couldn't go back to a regular flight and do what the controller wanted you to do. Okay? Okay, here's another important one. The guard frequency 121.500 must not be used under any circumstance except in the event of an emergency. I'm reading all this. Hold on. Event of an emergency while a pilot is not turned to an active ATC. ATC frequency, sorry. Any pilot in controlled airspace must declare any emergency to the controller. The controller has the right to decline the emergency, in which case, should the pilot be unable to override the emergency in the simulator, they should disconnect from the network. Okay? So, this is kind of the same thing, but also telling you to stay off. You don't use this frequency. 121.500. Do not use that frequency. That is for emergency. Okay? So, you know, and there might be some other things connected with that. So you could always ask someone that works, you know, through vatsim as well. Okay, number 9. Pilots flying inside of staffed, live controlled airspace must not leave the cockpit at any time without authorization. If a pilot needs to leave the flight unattended for a few minutes, the pilot should request the planned absence with the relevant air traffic controller. The beginning and the end of the absence must be announced by the pilot. So basically, it's kind of the same thing. You need to key up. You say American 209, need to step away from control just for a couple minutes and wait for them to give you clearance. Okay? Don't just take it upon your own decision to do it. Okay, another thing, and I'm just going to kind of shorten this up. Pilots flying outside of live controlled airspace are required to log off the network if it is anticipated that they will be away for more than 30 minutes. If you are found to be unresponsive for more than 30 minutes or become a conflict with other traffic sooner than 30 minutes, you will be subject to immediate removal from the network. Repeat offenders will be subject to suspensions and or expulsions. Okay? Okay, something else that's important here. One thing to note. Staff is not always required to give you the full 30 minutes. If you fly into controlled airspace and are unresponsive, you can be removed immediately. It says the point to remember is that if you intend to be away from your computer for more than 30 minutes, or you find yourself suddenly needing to leave, take a brief moment to disconnect from the network. Okay? I mean, that's pretty straightforward. So don't be leaving your controls unattended. And don't complain if they you know, kick you off the network because you did. Because they can do so. And they don't got to wait 30 minutes. Okay. Log on to fly or observe, not to chat. Logging on with a non-active call sign is not allowed. Non-active call signs are defined as call signs which are unrelated to any pilot, air traffic control position, instructor, or staff engaging in administrative duties. However, new members are encouraged to observe on how things operate on the network. This helps to learn both procedure and phraseology, fancy word which means how ATC and pilots speak to one another. Keep in mind, legitimate observation to learn will always be encouraged, as it is a necessary practice to become comfortable using and functioning within the VATSIM environment. So it is important to learn the way that you talk and some of the different things that they might say. Like some controllers might tell you to, maintain 11,000. Or, let's say 1,200. Someone might say, okay, maintain 1,200 or something like that. And they can say, let me give you a better example. 10,000 is where once you get to 10,000, you can, your speed can go up above 250 and so on. Let's say they tell you they want you to maintain 12,000. Well, they could technically say, let me find, I got a better example here. So if they wanted to say 11,000, for example, they could say 10, 1,000 or 2,000, and that's going to be, the same as 11,000. And I might be saying that wrong because I don't use that very often, but when I hear it, I do recognize it. And, I still practice, guys. I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect on that stuff. I'm not used to some of that stuff, but I practice, and that's what you need to do. Okay. Another important rule. You can only be connected with one connection. Don't connect two different spots to try to monitor how you're doing. It said use the program serve info or WhatsApp WHAZZUP WhatsApp. Okay. It says you can find links to them in the VATSIM in the 104 course. All right. 13. Pilots flying under the control of a student are kindly requested to be patient and fair to this new member of ATC community. So there might be someone training. Don't be a butthead because they might not be someone that you're used to, or they might not do things the way you're used to it. We're not on VATSIM to criticize or put people down. We're on there to, one, have fun, two, to help each other, and fly. Just like that. Well, right here, number 14. Generally speaking, respect other individuals on the VATSIM network. It's just a hobby, so do not overdrive in terms of realism and seriousness. To keep VATSIM a pleasant place, everyone is kindly requested to respect these rules. says, they make sense because they guarantee a common base to operate on vatsim to keep it free of charge and to make everyone feel comfortable using vatsim, which makes sense. We're not on to put people down. We're not on to, oh my gosh, you wasn't serious enough, so you're not doing it right. Don't be like that. Don't be a butthead. So that is the basics of it. Now, down below, you're going to find a link that'll take you right to this page. And some might be saying, well, John, if you're not, if you're new on vatsim, or, you've not been around as long as others, why are you doing this video? Because these are general rules. This is basic information that I believe, it's out there somewhere. Obviously, I found it on a website as far as the rules and stuff. But I want to also bring it to the BVI pilot community for those that might be new. You might just be coming in. You might not know much about vatsim. Maybe you've never flown with vatsim. Maybe you have flown with vatsim. And, you need to do a refresh. Right? Because we're not perfect. So, go over this stuff and if you see you're doing something wrong on vatsim, instead of ignoring it, just do your best to fix it. And don't be a butthead to people on vatsim. I always hated getting controllers that are grouchy, but you know what? I deal with it and I move on. I don't throw a fit about it. If a controller's too out of line, I will report it. And that's as far as I'll take it. I won't sit there and get on the mic and start arguing back and forth. And I suggest that, no one should do that. Don't argue over the mic and all that stuff. Don't say, but yada, yada, yada. This person told me to do this, so you need to stop getting an attitude, yada, yada, yada. There are people I know that would do that probably. So don't do that, okay? If you guys have any questions about this or you'd like to add, please feel free to leave comments down below. Hopefully I've got the link for you down there and you can go look at these as well. Just to make sure I didn't miss anything. So, if you're going to be joining the event, I will be doing a video soon. So, it might be the video after this, or, maybe 2 videos after this where I'm talking about the event coming up for the honeycomb and the flight stick. So, if you're going to be a part of that, you need to watch the video. Everyone needs to watch it. All right? So, if someone misses something and they say, well, I didn't watch the video, well, that's your fault, not my problem. Because I'm going to tell everybody about it, and everybody's going to be required to, not required, but are going to be told to watch it because you need to. Because the other person involved in this is giving me information that I need to give to you guys. So, all right, till next time, you guys take care, have fun. Go fly on vatsim. Practice, 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 have fun. It's what it's all about. We'll talk to you soon.